They told us no one else was involved. They stood at a podium, looked the public in the eye, and declared it case closed. But last week, we tore that script to shreds. The Lafayette Market footage, a circus of contradictions, cars jumping, disappearing, an access road no one talked about, and a mystery vehicle they never identified. So this week, we're shifting just down the road to footage the sheriff's office barely mentioned, the Stevens residence. 18 events, not 3. School buses with cameras, people jogging, cars coming and going, and still no real canvas, no real follow-ups. You're about to see what Medina County missed, or worse, what they ignored. So buckle up, because what we found changes everything. Last week, we tore into the Lafayette Market video, the one that, supposedly anchored the timeline in the Bryon Macron case. And we exposed the cracks, the unexplained jumping of the video, cars appearing, disappearing, an access road that gave full visibility cover, and a car that was never properly identified. So this week, we're shifting just down the street to something that got buried in the narrative, the Stephenson residence footage. And listen, I'm not proud. I don't need to be right. I just want the truth to come out. What's truly disheartening is that multiple witnesses and investigators have flat out refused to answer even the simplest of questions. I've provided detailed, thoughtful analysis based on the limited investigative evidence that actually exists. If I'm off my rocker, then come tell me that I'm off my rocker and tell me where I've got it wrong. That door has always been open. My latest venture involves trying to connect with now retired Brunswick detective Brian Schmidt. He was the one who conducted the phone dump of Bryon Macron's Samsung Galaxy SX Edge Plus. Yet there's no documentation about it in Detective Cartwright's reports, or very little. Now, that's not to say that the phone dump itself came out, but there are all sorts of questions relative to that phone dump that were never included in the narrative of Cartwright's investigation. There was mentioning of phone ballooning during the extraction process and other key technical issues I wanted to clarify. I reached out to the current Brunswick chief, Robert Safran, who assured me he'd pass the message along. That was 10 days ago. Since then, doing what any good investigator would do, I located Schmidt's mobile number, and I've politely texted him twice, laying out my concerns, and even inviting him to watch the show and tell me, hey, where I may be wrong. He read the message and chose not to respond. And so you really have to ask yourself, what are they all afraid of? You've got current Hinckley Police Chief David Suttner, who, according to the current Hinckley Township trustees, seems to have carte blanche to treat the public like garbage and flat out refuse to answer questions, despite the fact that he was supposed to be leading this investigation. Sure, he showed up to do the press conferences, but when it comes to answering why Bryon was trying to contact him about Linda Bowers, silence.
Good morning, everyone. I am Captain David Suttner with the Medina County Sheriff's Office. The purpose of this press conference is to provide an update of the investigation of the death of Bryon Macron. What we know is that there's no one else involved.
Now, let's talk about that press conference for a second. On July 24th, 2017, then Captain David Suttner stood in front of the media and claimed with a straight face that, quote, no one other than Bryon Macron was involved in his death, end quote.
What we know is that there's no one else involved.
First, the Cuyahoga County Medical Examiner's Office ruled the cause of death undetermined. 6 stab wounds, none of them fatal. No lung trauma, no confirmed drowning. So how do you confidently sit up there and say that no one else was involved?
What we know is that there's no one else involved.
Unknown DNA was found on multiple surfaces inside the township building, including the interior door handle of the conference room. A room they claim only Bryon was in. So again, no one else was involved?
What we know is that there's no one else involved.
Third, the stab wound angles, per the autopsy, came from above and would have been awkward, if not impossible, for someone to do to themselves. But they ruled out homicide.
What we know is that there's no one else involved.
Fourth, Macron's phone. Hundreds of deleted messages and calendar entries. And I know we haven't talked about it quite yet, but this case just keeps getting more and more complex with the oddities. We're going to come back to that, I promise you. But there were hundreds of deleted messages and calendar entries. No record or why or whom. Schmidt did the extraction, and Cartwright's report barely touched it. This wasn't just a hole in this documentation, it's a crater.
What we know is that there's no one else involved.
Blood inconsistent with fatal wounds. Bloodied towels with unidentified female DNA found in a firehouse dumpster. Investigators couldn't explain it, couldn't match it, didn't honestly really pursue it. And yet they stood there and told the public, nothing to see here. This wasn't a conclusion, it was a public relations damage control. And if the investigators involved in this case are too proud to admit they screwed up, that's a whole different level of incompetence. And it should offend everyone, because this case is a domino effect of failures, cover-ups, and silence. And they're hoping no one notices as the whole house of cards comes crashing down. So before we go any deeper, let's talk Discord. Tentacle Nation is now around 139 members strong, and this isn't just a fan server, it's a think tank. We've got people actively breaking down case files, comparing timelines, identifying inconsistencies, and connecting dots that the so-called professionals missed. And this week, I'll be adding a dedicated thread specifically for the Stephenson residence video audit in the Bryon Macron case. That way, anyone who wants to dive deeper into those 18 timestamps, compare notes, or post theories can do it all in one place. Whether you've got screenshots, vehicle observations, or questions about foot traffic, get in there and drop it. If you're not already in Discord, now's the time. So go, I have it linked by one contact link. It's in the description of this video, or I will put a QR code right here for you to scan. All right, it's links.the/infamous.xchief. And click the Discord icon. It's free, it's active, and it's where the real conversations happen. Remember, justice doesn't happen in silence. Keep talking, keep questioning, keep shaking the system until the truth falls out. I'm going to quickly show you again. All right, I know this is probably getting monotonous, but I must not be doing a good job clarifying it, because I'm still getting some people that are having, I'm still having some folks that are having issues trying to figure out how to get into Discord. So I just want to quickly show this. If you go to the Tentacle Nation YouTube channel, all right, any video, you can pick any video here, and if you any of the videos, all right, and you go down to where this description is here, and you click more, all right here, this link is all of my contact information, all right, everything that you can possibly want. You click on that link, this pops up, all right, and the Discord is this little button here on the second row on the far left. You click on that button, and bam! You are in the Tentacle Nation Discord. So, hold up. We've got to stop everything for a second, because I need to give a massive shout out to one of the absolute legends in Tentacle Nation. Some of you send messages, some of you drop comments, but this viewer, they went full on creative mode and designed a custom piece of artwork and a coffee mug just for the show. I haven't even gotten it in my hands yet, but the design alone, it's got me hyped. This wasn't some quick click and ship gift. This was thought, time, passion, and honesty. It reminded me why I started this thing in the first place. To the viewer who made this, you didn't just make something cool, you made a statement. And when that mug gets here, you better believe it's going to be front and center while I edit, investigate, and shake the system until the truth falls out. To all of Tentacle Nation, this is what it's about. Real people, real stories, real impact. This isn't just content. This is a call to action. So again, just if you want to get your hands on this mug, all right, going back to, again, my one-stop shop of contact. We just talked about the Discord button, which is right here. All right, but if you want to look at this mug, you go all the way down here to be brew loud and be heard. You click on that, and you can see the new design that I'm actually proud of. Again, I can't thank you enough. So let's talk about the 100 block of Beachside in Chippewa Lake, Ohio. And that's the home of David and Cindy Stephenson. They had cameras rolling that night of December 15th, 2016, pointed directly at the road. And yes, the Medina County Sheriff's Office did retrieve footage from that system. But what they included in their reports? Just a sliver of the full story. Again, I'm not trying to purposely mispronounce his name. It's Detective Schismenos, I believe. Schismenos. I mean, no offense if I'm mispronouncing it. But the thing that Detective Schismenos noted was just a quick few timestamps. He noted 6:30 p.m., an SUV traveling north. At 6:33 p.m., same or similar SUV heading south. And 6:38 p.m., a person jogging. That's all. Just those 3 moments. And I'm going to show you where I got it. Because again, I'm ultra transparent. This is on the Discord server, folks. This is page 13 of the whole 49 pages of the extensive, I'm being sarcastic, investigation by the Medina County Sheriff's Department. But if you can see where I've highlighted here, it talks about the camera showed a timestamp at 12/15/2016 at 18:30:26. And so I did get it on multiple accounts from valid sources. The timestamp was incorrect on the camera system. All right. So that's why it's saying 18:30, which is military for 6:30 p.m. But this is around 6:30 in the morning. So these are the 3 things, again, that I just talked about. 6:30, a dark SUV traveling south to north along the road. The vehicle then showed the similar vehicle traveling north to south at 6:33. And at 6:38, the same camera showed a subject jogging, fast walking south to north along the road. The timestamp was off, and David had changed it prior to my arrival. So, again, I wanted to be full disclosure and show you. Those are the 3 points, the only 3 listed activities that Detective Schismenos noted. But when I did my own full video on it, there were 18 separate events, not 3. So I'm going to quickly walk you through it, and then we're going to dive into it together. All right. So some of the most important timestamps from this footage is 6:23 p.m. And again, this says p.m. on the timestamp, but it's a.m. A vehicle travels north away from the beach. At 6:27, a vehicle travels south toward the beach. Then the video shuts off. At 6:28, a pickup truck follows heading south. And at 6:30, headlights appear turning from the west onto Beachside, coming from the south side of the Stephenson residence. At 6:31, a vehicle heads southbound again. At 6:33, a vehicle, which they have identified as possibly Bryon's, according to the Medina County Sheriff's Office, travels south toward the beach. At 6:38, a person jogs northbound away from the beach. And at 6:44, a vehicle turns onto Beachside. Second later, a school bus comes into view. And we're going to talk about, again, these school buses because I have confirmation that there was video back in 2016 from the Cloverleaf School District. They had video on those buses, folks. And of course, it's way past retention. It records over itself. All right. It was never requested. No fault of Cloverleaf, but major fault of Medina County Sheriff's Department. So, again, we're talking about the first school bus at 6:44. Now we're going to talk about a second school bus at 6:52. That school bus is traveling south towards the beach. And 6:54 and 6:56, joggers or walkers seen traveling both directions, towards and away from the beach. And at 7:03, a vehicle appears to be turning onto Beachside, but the video cuts just as it enters the frame. The next clip, the vehicle is gone. So at 7:12 and 7:13, more foot traffic, heading both south and north. At 7:25, a vehicle enters screen traveling north, and the video cuts immediately. Now, to be clear, these video cuts aren't suspicious. The system was set up to record only on motion. So yes, it's totally normal that the clips start and stop the way they do. But it does matter when no one followed up to fill in those gaps. No further canvassing, no timeline cross-referencing, no real attempt to find out where these people were coming from or going to. It's like the investigator saw motion and hit fast forward. So again, we're gonna dive into, again, because I'm all about transparency and I don't want you to take my word for it. And I want there to be some really good discussion on the Discord channel this week relative to this. All right. I'm going to show you again. One-stop shop link. All right. Gets to my main contact page, and we're going to launch Discord. All right. From here, we're going to scroll over to the left. All right. We're going to go into the case files section. All right. We're going to go to Bryon Macron. All right. The very first section here, kind viewer converted these video files for the Stephenson, aka Stephen Resonance. Okay, if we click on that link, I have actually uploaded my timeline, right? Which is here. And again, I might not have it all, because once you start looking at these videos, you're going to see what I'm talking about. It's sometimes very hard to determine. There may actually be even more than 18 events, right? But if you go to the top, you go to this link here, you click on it. All right, these are the videos that we're going to be going over and discussing. Every one of the videos is listed right here. All right, so just highlighting and giving an example. If we click on that, all right, these are actually back cameras. There are actually several cameras, and you can actually see some of the travel movement over here in the corners on the back cameras. All right, but I'm trying to find, here we go, front south. This is the front video, and again, just clicking on it, you're going to see this, and it's extremely hard to see. I think you can maximize it down here at the bottom, full screen. All right, and again, I just picked a random clip here. I have no idea what it is or if there's even going to be any activity, but I wanted to be fully transparent and show you and guide you how to get to these videos yourself, because again, don't take my word for it. Everything that I've talked about is not subjective. It's objective, all right? And I want everybody to be on the same page, because I don't want this narrative to say that I'm guiding this conversation. All I'm doing is guiding the investigation, all right? The investigation that should have happened all along. So next segment, we're going to jump into and show you, based off of my timeline, what I observed. So before we get into the featured segment for the episode here, all right, we're diving into the Stephenson residence. I just wanted to show you this. This is I don't think I can properly display the amount of interference that's being ran on this investigation. All right, it's almost impossible for me to put into words. So this is actually my filing with the Ohio Court of Claims relative to the public records request for the Medina County Sheriff's Office. Now, 90% of this document is not my claim. It's actually emails, but just to give you an idea of how much time it actually takes. Most of those are emails going back and forth between Rebecca Bryon Byrne, B-Y-R-N-E, who is, I think, the executive assistant for Sheriff Terry Grace, right? I really, listen, Rebecca, if you're watching this, or Sheriff Grace, right? The infamous X-Cheap platform will pay for Rebecca to go to public record schooling, all right? Because it's, even on subsequent requests that I've made just this week on other matters, have been redacted beyond belief. I don't have any idea where Rebecca's training comes from on public records, but I have a feeling this is not going to be my only lawsuit with Medina County Sheriff's Department. And I honestly, I'm not a sue-happy person. I just want my records. Most of the time when I file, I have yet to lose a case. Well, one is in appeals, right? I've probably filed, 12 cases. And I know that probably sounds like a lot, but it's honestly each time the government is attempting to not abide by the Ohio Public Records law. And I'm not going to idly sit by and allow them to disgrace these people's memories and the investigations that I'm attempting to hold people accountable for. You're not going to mire that by your own interpretations of the law. Now, Medina County Sheriff's Department is by far the most egregious, however, in their public records requests. And again, I offer, because it would take me a heck of a lot less time by sending Rebecca to public records school so that she has a better understanding and fundamental grasping of the public records law than for me to file all of this and continue with the emails back and forth. But I digress. We're going to get into the Beachside. And so before we break down the Beachside surveillance footage, the same footage that was supposed to help clarify what happened the night Bryon Macron vanished, I want to talk about the people Medina County trusted to run the show. So I've been talking about this guy, and I don't know how to pronounce his name, and I'm not making fun of his name if it's not being pronounced correctly. Detective Paul Schismenos. All right? And he was, other than having the hard for me to pronounce name, I didn't really know much about him. And prior to doing this segment for this episode, I looked into him, and I started to notice a trend that I should have seen before. So Detective Paul Schismenos was one of the investigators tasked with following up at the Beachside where Bryon's car was found. And to be fair, he does have some training on the books, courses on sexual assault investigations, crisis response, missing persons, even search warrant prep. So no, he's not completely untrained, but let's be clear, none of that qualifies you to handle a suspicious death. There's no homicide training, no crime scene certification, no forensic follow-up skills. He wasn't prepared for this case, not by a long shot. And Medina County, I'm finding a systemic issue that they lean hard into the comfort of LMS training, which is the Learning Management System. And it sounds official, right? But here's how it really works. You watch a video, you take a quiz, you get it wrong, no problem, just take it again. And again. And okay, again. And eventually the system gives you a gold star and says, hey, congratulations, you're qualified to handle felony investigations now. It's laughable. LMS isn't training, it's liability insulation wrapped in busy work, and it shows. Now, who's in charge of all of this? None other, at this time, than Chief David Settner, who was the captain of the Medina County Sheriff's Department at the time. Our favorite champion of transparency. You remember the quote that he talks about, that, and it's not a direct quote, but he talks about how no one else but Bryon Macron was responsible for his own death. That's me paraphrasing. Easy to say when your entire investigation was handled by people who weren't equipped to do a proper canvass, didn't lock down the scene, and didn't even search the lake where Bryon's body would eventually be found. One of the biggest indicators of that failure, it took them nearly a year to properly interview Connie, a jogger, who saw someone matching Bryon's description walking alone near Beachside on the morning he disappeared. And it is a little honestly confusing when you listen to her interview whether or not he did actually match Bryon's description or not. It depends on which interview, whether it's the first telephone recorded conversation a year later, or the interview with BCI, which was also a subsequent very rushed telephone call by BCI agent Snyder. And when I first reviewed the beachside surveillance footage, something jumped out immediately. 2 school buses, clearly visible on camera, passing through the area that morning. Now, if you've ever talked to a bus driver, you know they pay attention. They're like rolling neighborhood watch units with better peripheral vision. And most buses, they're equipped with exterior cameras. And those buses, I confirmed, had exterior cameras in December of 2016. Cameras that would have captured the roadway, other cars, pedestrians, maybe even Bryon. And speaking of vehicles, there's also a pickup truck driving through the area around that same time. A truck that still hasn't been identified. If Medina County had held a real press conference back then, if they had told the public what was going on, maybe someone would have come forward. Maybe someone would have said, hey, I saw that truck, or hey, that's my kid's bus route, and I remember that morning. But they didn't. And the one thing we can't do now, proper canvas. So I'm asking you, if you were in that area, if you know someone who was, if you recognize the truck that we're about to watch, if you drove one of those buses, or you know someone who did, reach out. Help us piece together what Medina County Sheriff's Department couldn't or wouldn't. Because Sittner, he's got more pressing matters now, like pushing for public records policies where departments like Hinckley can charge you up to $750 to see body camera footage. His reasoning, and this is a direct quote, it's very time consuming, end quote. Right. Because nothing says transparent law enforcement like charging citizens for access to the truth. So let's connect the dots. The guy who shut this case down with no real investigation, the guy who skipped the canvas, skipped the search, skipped the training, now wants you to pay to see the footage. It's not a cover-up. It's a cop-out, funded by your tax dollars. Let's take a look at the beachside surveillance. Let's see what Medina County Sheriff's Department missed. Let's see what someone out there still might remember. So be loud, be heard, shake the system until the truth falls out. All right, so again, this is probably going to take a lot of post-editing work for me because I can't find... I have multiple duplicate folders and files. Files that have been shared with me by the files that have been shared with me by the family, files that have been shared with me by the Invisible Ships podcast crew, other files that I have just gotten, and then the actual public records request dumps that I'm receiving. So I have like multiple folders, and I don't know where my notes, usually when I go back and view these videos, I'm doing so and I generate the notes alongside the video, but I do have my timeline. So we're going to look as best as we can here. So there are several camera angles that were brought out, and there are some videos that come from the back patio camera. I'm not sure if I'm going to necessarily highlight them because they're the same vehicles that we're going to observe, but you're more than welcome to go back. Again, I'm trying to save bandwidth. I want to be transparent, and I want you to see as much as you can see, but I also don't want to be completely laborious and lose everybody, more so than I already am. So let's look at, this is, my timeline starts at about 6:23, and these videos are somewhat out of order, if I recall correctly. All right, so my video, I finally was able to find the videos with my notes on them. All right, so we start on my timeline at 18:23:16, and we've got a vehicle traveling northbound on Beach Avenue. Now, this is a 24-minute clip. We're not going to watch all 24 minutes here. Most of it is dead space, but I am, let's see. All right, yeah. So it starts at 6 o'clock. Again, you don't have to take my word for it. Here's the file number right here. You can find it on Discord, just punching in that file number. All right, but we're gonna fast forward through to about 23 minutes, and most of these are really, really quick. I'm trying to wait for the bar to disappear. So again, we have a vehicle traveling northbound on Beachside away from the beach at 6:23 in the morning. Vehicle traveling northbound on Beachside away from the beach on this clip. And again, it's usually very quick. All right, you can see the vehicle just passed. And again, just the way that the camera cuts in and out for whatever reason, that's how it works. All right. Again, you're more than welcome to go back in slow motion, however you want to find it. I'm going back to and again, the files are out of order, so it looks like I'm skipping around, but I have my timeline over on this side of my screen, so I see chronologically how it's going. So the next event is at 18:27:55, which we will queue up. Again, I'm going by, it is the time that's up here at the top. This vehicle seen entering the screen and the video shuts off. You can always see the headlights approaching. Right? So that's it. All right. So we're looking for 18:28:23. This is a pretty key one for me because this was a pickup truck. All right. And this is at 6:28:23. And if I remember correctly, this pickup is actually pretty, yeah. It almost looks like a red pickup truck. I'm going to play that back because I think this is something important to see, because I would love for somebody to recognize this pickup truck and know who this is. All right, I'm going to play this in slower motion, 0.5. Again, I just really want, hopefully, someone to recognize this pickup truck. All right. So we go to 18:30. I'm looking for 18:30 at this point. All right. So 18:30:26. All right. So what I have noted here is the vehicle's headlights appear. That's originally traveling westbound, and then turns northbound on Beachside, but it seems to be coming from the south end of the Stephenson residence. And I have noted, because I have it on good authority, and I can't say why I know this, but I have it on really, really good authority, that the vehicle was turning from Bass Bay. This is one of those circumstances where someone has given me information, but they wish to remain anonymous. So I'm gonna go back here because I just want to make sure everybody's understanding. If you watch, you can see the headlights. The headlights are coming across. Apparently the vehicle is turning from Bass Bay. All right, and that's a pretty descriptive vehicle. Also, let's slow that down and watch that, because that's some of the video. It's very hard to see, but this is a vehicle that it probably could possibly be identified. All right, so that is the 18:30. We're going to go to 18:31 I'm looking for. All right. So we have a vehicle traveling southbound on Beachside, possibly initially was traveling westbound and turned south. This is 18:31:39. You can see the headlights approaching. And then the video cuts out immediately. We're looking for 18:33:53 now. I have on other videos showing vehicle traveling south on Beachside towards Beach. So this must be the 1833-54. I was on the other video. I think this is 2 quick clips, I think, is what I'm trying to say, if my memory serves me correctly. I'm just skipping ahead to the times here just so everybody can see. We're looking for 53, which is apparently going to be at the very end of this clip. All right. Now, this, we're looking for 1833-54, according to the Medina County Sheriff's Department. This is who they believe to be Bryon's vehicle. Let me try rolling this back. All right, we're going to try to slow this down. I'm trying to determine how... this must have been off of the report that I'm gathering that they're stating that this possibly is Bryon's vehicle. And obviously this must have been on the opposite way back, because initially they state his vehicle was traveling north first, prior. So the next vehicle, or the next event that we are looking for is 1838-22. All right. Now this is, again, 18. If you believe that last vehicle to be Bryon's vehicle, that would have been at 1833-54, and this is 1838-22. You can see a person either running or jogging north on Beachside away from the beach. So this would have been, if that was Bryon's vehicle, this person would have had to have seen Bryon and or the vehicle. So is this Connie Wells? We don't know. I don't think she was ever shown these videos. Connie, if you're watching, I would love to talk to you. But we're going to play this. 1838-22. And I'm just going to slow this down just to half speed. So you can see right there. Oops, I shouldn't have done that. Someone jogging or running. I'll put it back in a normal speed just so looks a little less dramatic there. But so again, we're looking at 18. This is real speed, actual speed. All right. I mean, it appears to be somebody jogging and or running. Our next event is 1844. All right, so 1844-32, we have a vehicle seen traveling west, then turning south on Beachside when the video terminated. All right. Let's see where we are with this. 1844. 32 must be towards the very end of this clip. Now, this is, again, where it's going to get interesting. 1844-38. And again, if you believe that that was Bryon's vehicle at 1833, so you're talking 11 minutes after Bryon's vehicle is there, we get our first school bus. All right, so this is going to be our first school bus. That's at the very beginning of the clip. All right. Again, that's about 11 minutes. If you believe that to be Bryon's vehicle at the beach, that was about 11 minutes after Bryon's vehicle. Next is going to be 1850, which is another school bus. So this is another school bus, 1852-40. And it also is traveling south towards the beach. So you have two school buses, two witnesses that you could have contacted relatively very easily, and secured video. Frustrating. So our next event is 1854-44. 1854-44. We have a person jogging, running, traveling south towards the beach. This is a 10-minute clip, so it's got to be... it's actually at the beginning here, apparently. That one's very hard to see. I'm going to roll it back. It's at the very bottom of the screen here. Hopefully everybody saw it there. Make sure you're looking right in here. All right. So our next event is 1856. So I have a person jogging, walking north away from the beach. And again, this is 1854. We just saw somebody going south towards the beach. So this is someone going away from the beach several minutes later. There you go. Our next event, we are looking at 1903-13. All right, so 1903-13, or 17, 13. I have a vehicle. It looks like I see the vehicle. Looks like it might be turning south from the street next to Beachside onto Beachside. Video cuts as soon as the vehicle appears. And yes, there you have it. So now we're going to go to 1912. All right, so I noted this person appears to be walking south towards the beach. It says, I have noted it's barely appearing towards the bottom, so I'm assuming it's going to be in this area again here. Let's cue that up. And we've already passed it, that point. So we're looking at 1912-14. This person, again, is walking south towards the beach. Yes. Barely see them, you see? They actually may have even been running. I don't know. The next event we are looking at is 1913-43, which must be on this same clip. This person appears to be going north, running or jogging. There you have it. The last event that I have is 1925. 47. And this is probably going to be at the very end of this clip. So here I have noted vehicle enters the screen traveling north away from the beach and video cuts off. Starting to get daylight out so you can see a lot better. And there you have it. You see the headlights. You can't honestly even see what kind of vehicle it was. But again, another vehicle passing all of these events, 18 separate events, 18, could have been the same person jogging back and forth. That's very possible. Who knows? But again, it was never even, but the area was never canvassed. 2 buses, all sorts of cars, people walking, jogging back and forth. There's only one person that was interviewed by the police, and that is Connie Wills, who wasn't interviewed for a year later after. So she had pretty much forgotten, probably in the majority of everything that she had saw that day. A year later, they contact her, and then she's briefly interviewed on the phone. I think maybe literally like a 5-minute conversation on the phone. And then I'll try to bring that up actually for post-production editing. I'm going to bring up her initial interview, and then I'm going to bring up her interview with BCI, and we're going to look at the differences. In her original interview, she talks about possibly seeing another vehicle further down the street where the point or the park is by the creek. And the interview with Charlie Snyder, Charlie doesn't even bring it up. Doesn't even ask about the potential of the second vehicle. And on the initial phone call that the Medina County Sheriff's Department, they've pretty much already poisoned her mind by saying, hey, we heard that you ran into Bryon Macron. All right. Well, she didn't say that. I mean, I don't know. Assumably she didn't. Maybe the tip came in that she did. I don't know. But I mean, it's a strange way to start off a phone interview with somebody by giving them the answers, or at least the answers they think you want to hear, which is sort of weird. Again, when you ask questions, your questions should be open-ended first. If the party needs recollection, if they need something to get their memory flowing, then yes, you can ask more specific questions, but you always start out with open-ended questions because you don't want to be accused of planting any type of seeds into their mind. All right, we're going to, again, post-production, hopefully we're going to get a lot of this tied up, and the interviews with Connie. All right, we're back, and we're going to listen to these interviews with Connie, and I'm going to also throw up the report for the Medina County Sheriff's Office also. So I was right. It was a 5-minute phone conversation. And we're going to go back to our trusty Otter AI. Again, this is what Otter is thinking these folks are saying.
Hello, is Connie available?
Yes, this is she.
Connie, this is Detective Carr from the Sheriff's Office. How are you today?
Good.
I have been informed that somebody heard that you might have spoken with Bryon Macron on the 16th of December when you were jogging.
I didn't really speak with him, and honestly, I couldn't. I would almost bet money it was him that I simply said good morning to. Okay.
Do you remember anything about, what he was wearing or how the conversation went at all?
It really wasn't a conversation. I was running by. He was walking towards, it would have been on Beachside, and he was walking towards, like, Chippewa Road, that way.
Okay.
And then I happened to, and I run, because it's so dark, I just run the lakefront in the morning. So I had turned around, and I was running back towards, like, the beach. So that's when I met him, and it was more like a face-to-face, but not really face-to-face. This person's face was down, and I say good morning, and I said good morning, and the person didn't say anything to me, and I just remember thinking to myself, note to self, he must not be a morning person, and he's not really wearing, isn't like dressed appropriately for as cold as it was outside. Those are the only two things I remember. So as far as what he exactly had on, I know it wasn't like heavy winter stuff. I was bundled. It was cold that morning.
Oh, it was.
And that's all I can. That's all I can tell you. That's all I can remember.
Was there anybody in the vicinity of him at all, or anything like that?
No.
Aside from yourself?
No. I'm sorry?
Aside from yourself?
Besides, no. We were the only two out. I'm the only crazy one out there in the morning when
Again, I just had to stop and pause. We just went over all the activity. So, again, I don't know if that was Connie's perception of her being the only person out, if that's what she remembers after a year. But we clearly have defined that that's not the case. She was not the only person out around that time.
it's that cold. So, seriously, and that's why I thought, okay, this is somebody... they weren't walking a dog. A lot of times people walk their dogs in the morning, but this person, it was a male, was not dressed very appropriately for the weather.
Okay. About where did you encounter him as far as...
On Beachside?
Yeah.
Let me see. Oh, wow. See, it's been almost a year, hasn't it?
Yes.
It was before. You know where the creek is?
Uh-huh.
Are you familiar with Beachside at all?
Yes.
Okay, and I call it our faraway playground, and there's the little creek there.
Yeah.
It was after. I had run past that, so it was somewhere in between, the beach parking lot and the faraway playground. In that area there, that section of Beachside, that I did come face to face with him, probably closer down, going towards the beach.
So you just
I don't think I was right in front of Stephenson's, but down in that area.
Okay.
Do you know where Stephenson's live?
No.
That's the corner of Heather Hedge and Beachside.
Okay, so you're just a little bit south
around
of there.
In that.
Around there?
I'm sorry.
Around Heather Hedge, then?
I would say around in that area.
Okay.
Yes. And that's Stephenson's live right there, or they have that's their summer home.
Okay.
So and again, that's all I remember. I hope it can help.
It's one of those things where the investigation is still ongoing. But somebody hears a little piece of information and they relay it. It's
right.
Okay, well, I do have to make sure everything's accurate.
Right.
So.
Right, to follow up on it, yes.
Yes, ignore all my business cards on your house.
Oh, have you stopped by the house?
Yeah, I stopped by the house because the one phone number that I have for you comes back, the mailbox isn't set up. And then this phone
My mailbox isn't set up.
Yes, I was calling, let me see what number I was. I tried calling you there's a 421 number, 4841.
That doesn't even sound like a familiar number. Okay.
And then this number that I called, basically, it was ringing busy for a long time, so.
This one was?
Yeah.
Oh, geez. Okay.
So, okay. Well, I really
haven't been on it.
Huh? Yeah,
I'm at school right now. I'm at work right now. Actually, I just happened to have a little break from the kids, and I saw this was the third time, and I had texted my husband. I said, "This number keeps calling me. I don't know who it is." He says, "Well, maybe you want to pick it up." Okay, I will.
Well, I appreciate you doing
it. I picked it up, and there you are.
Yeah.
So, okay, yeah, feel free to call. Now I know who the number is.
Okay.
I can help in any other way.
That's that's good. It helps helps explain some things. So.
Okay.
But if you have any questions or remember anything else, give me a holler. I appreciate it.
I certainly will. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. You have a good day.
Mm-hmm. Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, again, that was pretty much, it was a 5-minute interview. It was very poorly and sloppily done. Does anybody that listened to that interview have any idea where she actually saw Bryon? Somewhere in between the creek, maybe Stephenson's, maybe towards the beach, who knows? But, it makes me doubt because you saw all the activity around Stephenson. So if she is correct and she was the only one and this other person was the only one out, Were they closer towards the playground where she supposedly maybe saw a second vehicle? I don't know. Let's listen to the BCI interview next. So this is the interview with Connie and BCI agent Snyder. And Snyder literally had already closed out his investigation by the time that he even found out about Connie. Apparently the Medina County, according to Snyder's reports, Medina County Sheriff's Office failed to even alert Snyder of Connie. So his investigation was actually technically already closed. His review of the Medina County investigation was technically already closed out. He finds out about Connie and says, better interview her. So this is their interview. Very cursory, 16 minutes. And again, you can tell that no important questions are asked here.
Okay, Con, I'm trying to find my paperwork that I had for you.
Oh, no problem.
Okay. You live at 128, gosh, I can't think of the name of the street there.
It's a fish.
Yeah, Bass Boulevard. Bass Bay Boulevard.
Bass Bay.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I got my paperwork now. Okay, Connie, I've got kind of a little bit of paperwork here from the sheriff's office, and I know you had contact with the sheriff's office at one or two times during their investigation. Do you recall having contact with them about the Bryon Macron question death?
Yes, sir.
Okay. As I understand it, you're an avid jogger.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you go out every morning at 6:30 and
yes, sir.
Stay fit. Good for you.
Well, I don't know if I'm staying fit, but I'm sure trying.
Okay, good for you. How often do you run every day?
I run every day, twice a day.
Oh, is that right? Oh, okay.
I do. I'll come home. I'm at school right now, and it's just kind of my decompressing. Yes, I do.
Okay. I can understand that. Okay. Connie, let me see if I can make some sense out of this. As I understand it, you were out jogging one morning, and you were stopped by a sheriff's captain who talked to you briefly. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Okay. And that was Captain Sentner from Medina County Sheriff's Office. There was also another person with him. His name was Arvin Clark. He was from BCI. And I think they probably asked you questions about if you'd seen anything suspicious in the area. Do you recall that particular contact?
I remember them asking me questions.
Okay.
So the contact that they're talking about is the report where she indicates that she believes that she saw a vehicle down the street. And this was actually noted in, I believe, Arvin Clark's supplemental report. Could have been Medina County, I can't remember. But it's in the report that she possibly saw a second vehicle down the street. And again, this was never brought up with the interview with Medina County Sheriffs when they called her on the phone, and it's not brought up here.
Sure.
Okay. And then at a later time, apparently, it's my understanding you may have called the sheriff's office
yes, sir.
And talked to somebody because you had a recollection or something?
I did.
Okay, could you tell me what you recall? If you still recall it, I'm assuming you do.
Sure. Okay. I had gone out to jog at my normal time. It was 6:30. It was dark. That's why I stay in town. And it was cold that day. So I remember dressing for the weather. It was probably like 17 degrees or whatever that day. It was pretty cold.
Do you recall the day itself?
It was... What do you mean, do I recall the day?
Any significance about the particular day? Or the date of the day or anything like that?
No, not really.
Okay.
No, my husband leaves for work about 5:30, and then I'm out by 6:30 running the streets. I'll go out and I'll turn
to the right and run. When it's dark like that, I just stay in town. So I run under the street lights, and I ran Beachside, or I'll run Beachside, and I start running north, and I go up to like Chippewa Road, and then I'll turn around and come back. When I came back, that's when I saw a gentleman walking on the other side of the street, and I said good morning. Didn't know him. And two things kind of went through my mind. Number one, he must not be a morning person because he didn't say anything. And number two, for as cold as it is, he sure wasn't dressed very well or very, like, appropriately. He had, like, a hoodie up over his head. It was dark, I don't know, under the street. Like, we had just kind of met, and it was at that point I run down to the beach. And that's when I saw a car parked there, and it was weirdly parked as if it had stopped at the stop sign there and just pulled forward. I thought it was possibly Heather, who, another gal that comes to check on her mom's, like, home when mom's in Florida. And so I ran up to it, or just close to it. And I'm like, no, that's not Heather's car. I don't know whose that is. Because Heather never parks that way at the beach. That's why I thought it was odd. Then turn around and finish my laps. Never saw the gentleman again. That's all I can tell you.
Okay. How far up Beachside were you when you passed him? Do you recall?
When we met, it was as if we were meeting. He was, I was running south, and he was running, or not running, but he was walking north. I want to say it was by Stephenson's. It was under a light.
Were you closer to the lake, and where was he in position to you? When you passed, was he on your left or your right?
He was on my right.
Okay.
And I was on, like, running south. I was on the left side of the street.
Okay, good.
If I'm going to see cars, if I want to get hit by a car, I'm going to jump out in front of the one I want to get hit by. That's why I run on that side of the street.
Okay.
And then he was, of course, on the opposite side. So it's like we met face to face, but not really. You know what I mean?
When you say he was underdressed, do you recall anything about the color of the clothes he had on, or could you tell because of the darkness? And I know I'm asking an awful lot from you.
This has been a while.
Yeah, absolutely.
I remember a hoodie being up over his head. I do remember that. Was it blue jeanie or red or possibly that? I don't recall.
That's not a problem. That's not a problem. Had you ever seen him in the area before that you recall?
No, sir. Okay. No, and I know pretty much we get to know everybody's routines, down there too. You know, well, and we know everybody's routines, and it's like, okay, if you know when somebody's running late, or you know when somebody's, like, oh, okay, you got a new dog, or whatever. Yes, we are. Absolutely.
Okay. Could you tell what his race was? Was he white or black?
He was not black.
Okay. And how about a physical description? Could you tell how tall he was, or was he thin, heavy, anything in between?
He was not thin. The gentleman was not thin. Okay. I could not tell you how tall he was. Okay.
And I know I'm asking an awful lot from you to go back 4 years. And
is that what it? Okay, that's why I was talking to my husband. I'm like, I can't imagine what they want. And he says, well, maybe it's about. And I thought, well, geez, that's been a while.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, to be completely honest with you, I just found out about you this past week. Otherwise, I would have talked to you. Well, there was kind of a glitch in their paperwork that was given to me. I never was given. Your name didn't appear in the original paperwork that they gave me. Okay. And I ended up talking to one of the investigators from Medina County. I did an interview with him week before last, and he came up with a jogger that he talked to, but he didn't have your name. So I had to go back and research everything, have the sheriff's office pull all their paperwork out, And that's how I came up with you. And, and
that would be me.
Yep. And the information that you have is very vital to the investigation. Do you think, did you ever tell anybody, or do you feel that was Bryon Macron that you saw? Did you ever see any pictures of Bryon Macron?
Well, after his picture was, plastered all over the papers, I could say yes, but I don't know because it was dark.
Right.
It's odd. I find it odd that when they found the body in the lake, if you look, it's right in line with the inlet.
Right.
That lake had not, it was unusual in that the lake had flooded a couple of times that winter. It usually doesn't do that. It really never froze over, and it was frozen around the edges that day, but it wasn't frozen in the middle.
Right.
And there's a lot of brush in the inlet that things can get hung up on, and when it rises and floods, it spits it all out into the lake. I guess my feeling was that's where his body ended up.
Now, when you saw him, there's nobody else around him. And
no, sir.
He was just walking on his own.
Yes, sir.
Did he appear to have any, for lack of a better word, I'm going to say drunk, but I don't think he was drunk, but did he appear that he had any kind of injury or ailment? Was he walking slow? Was he walking fast? Could you find that?
He was walking at a slower pace, and I'm not a very fast jogger. In fact, what's weird is I thought I would be turning around and probably passing him again, coming up from behind, and I never did. I never saw the gentleman ever again that morning. I never did.
And he was northbound and you were southbound when you passed him?
Yes.
Okay. And let's go back to the car that you saw in the parking lot down there. You said that the car appeared to, your impression was that it might have stopped at the stop sign and just pulled ahead?
And just pulled forward. The way it was parked.
So it didn't pull into a parking, like a designated parking spot?
No, sir. It didn't pull in normally how we all pull into the beach parking lot.
Could you tell what color the car was?
It was dark. It was under street light. The color of the car was dark, which is why I thought it was this other gal's, because she drives a black vehicle. This was not black, though. When I got up on it, it was clearly different, but it was a dark color.
Okay. Was there any lights on inside of it, or was it running?
I don't recall that there were any lights on.
Okay. But it was parked just like you say when you pull into the parking lot, rather than pull into a designated spot.
Right. It
was pulled at a right angle to that.
The stop sign and just pulled forward.
Okay.
That's how I saw it.
Okay.
And it's odd. I noticed it right away. My husband, who leaves at 5:30, would have noticed it because he goes that way, stops at the beach, and then turns left and goes up. It was parked so weird that he would have noticed, and it was not there at 5:30. That vehicle was not there.
Okay. And you talked to him about it?
My husband?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Because he says he would have noticed that.
Okay, good. What's your husband's name?
His name is Thomas.
Okay. I'm writing a note here. Okay. And, Connie, can I have your date of birth?
Absolutely. 6/3/1956.
Okay.
Now you know how old I am.
Oh, okay. And I sent a couple of emails out yesterday at email that I thought were possibly you, so you may get some of those, and you're probably going to get a letter from me. You can disregard all of that stuff now.
Okay, just trying. Right.
Yeah, I was trying to pull everything I could.
This effort to get a hold of you. You better. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, you have a vital piece of information that was overlooked, unfortunately.
Oh, geez.
And I think that, obviously it would have been better served if it would have been more timely. Not from your part, from the other people involved's part. If they would have talked to you sooner, so your recollection may have been a little bit,
fuzzier. Yeah. Well, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
You have my business card.
I do, sir. Yes.
If you think of anything else or something comes to mind, please don't hesitate to give me a call. You can call 24/7.
Okay. Is this case still open? Is that the deal?
It's still open. I've been instructed to start wrapping it down because it's going nowhere. But you have probably one of the biggest pieces of information.
Oh dear. Okay.
I'm not going to put your name out there. Have you talked to anybody else about this?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
No, you and whoever, the police officer, and then the guy from Richfield. Was he the,
Clark.
Yeah.
Clark.
Okay. Yeah. Right, because I had their cards, and that was it, but I never know. Okay. I never talked to anybody else.
Okay. I always like to go back, even after somebody reports something, I like to go back and get it firsthand. That's just the way I do my investigations and stuff. And that's why, when I saw this, I was kind of, like I say, I just learned about this last week, so that's why the importance on it, and I really do appreciate you speaking with me and stuff like that. If you recall anything else, please do not hesitate to give me a call.
Okay.
You come directly to me, okay?
I will, but you're not gonna I don't want a million people knocking on my door.
I'm not gonna tell anybody. I'm gonna report it in my report, but I just say that I talked to Connie Mills who revealed this. But I'm not gonna have
okay. You don't even have my last. Okay, last name is with a W.
Mm-hmm. I keep saying Mills. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Yeah. No, we've been called many things.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't need to
we all?
I don't need to go undercover or anything. My make up a name or anything.
No, I don't.
I mean, I've got one ready to go.
Well, good for you.
Yeah.
Okay, Connie, thank you very much. If I have any more questions, do you care if I call you back?
Not a problem.
Okay, is there a phone number that I can reach you at?
This phone number right now.
Okay. I will write it down when we get off the phone.
Okay. Yeah, but
thank you very much. And again, if you think of anything, please don't hesitate to give me a holler.
Okay, no problem, Charlie.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Bye-bye.
That wraps up the interview with Connie Wills with BCI agent Snyder. Hopefully you have some of the similar questions that I have in regards to this. But all right, so we're going to wrap this up.